Hi. My name is Dr. T. Andre Fagan from Central Washington University, and I'm here with Ultimate Drill Book and the Be Band Ready campaign with an exercise for drum majors that will help you be band ready for this upcoming year. Today, we're going to take a look at posture and stance for drum majors and its importance on your ability to project a commanding presence, as well as its ability to put you in the best position to be the best physical conductor possible. Every member of the marching ensemble is encouraged to have great posture, but often the drum major is neglected. In your role, you are traditionally the first thing that is seen. As an adjudicator of the marching arts for many years, the evaluation process begins as soon as one can see you, well before the first note is played. So, let's get started. I believe in a natural form and being of the body as you approach movement and as you approach an awareness of yourself. And that begins from the ground up. Think in terms of like a tree that has roots that are deeply rooted into the ground that allows it to grow tall out of the ground. We want to feel that same sensation with the body. So what I'd like you to concentrate on is how your foot position is set up to have the best stance and the strongest presence possible. We can start by making sure that the feet are shoulder width apart. This concept, I think, sometimes is overdone. Really understand what it looks like and what it feels like to stand outside of the shoulder versus standing at shoulder width. Shoulder width will allow you to have more strength in the lower body, and it will also increase your mobility to move out of this position. Although we often think that this is a stronger stance, i.e. Superman, we see that it's a little unstable when we get to moving the limbs and the body. So not outside of the shoulder, but right at the shoulder to have the tallest presentation possible. Now that our feet are in the proper position, we can focus on the next checkpoint for us as we move up the body, which is the hips. And what I want you to be concerned with in the hips is that we are creating a line, and we like to use the phrase that the hips are over the ankle. Now, when we try to put those hips in a different position, as sometimes drum majors do, we see that that stance changes the body alignment and puts us at a smaller, less tall stance than we were just demonstrating before. When you think about putting the hips forward in front of or on top of the toes, what that feels like and how the curvature of the back decreases that height, and how that same sensation happens when we move the hips beyond the back of the heels, and we have that same sensation to where we're leaned forward. So if you can really concentrate on having the hips over the ankle, all right, that are now at shoulder width apart, we're gonna have a stronger connection to that root out of the ground that we're looking for. So again, the hips not in front, right, or on top of the toes, or the hips not behind where the heel and the ankle are, but just right on top, right? The hips on top of the ankle while the feet remain at shoulder width. Next up is an understanding and an awareness of the torso. Make sure that you're concentrating on standing on top of the hips to give us the longest spine possible. The other thing that I think is important as it relates to the torso is that you're thinking about keeping a relaxed presence as you stand on top of the spine with a smiling torso. And what I mean by smiling torso is when we allow the shoulders to droop down, we allow there to be a frowning sensation of what the upper body looks like. You want to make sure that we are smiling with that torso. That's going to push that breastplate forward. That's going to allow you to fill up the imaginary space, right? Looking at your sagittal space in terms of how you are built from the front to the back. So again, as it relates to the torso, we want to think about being on top of the hips. We want to think about a smiling torso. And we want to make sure that we are expanding both forward and backwards, utilizing that sagittal space in our surrounding. There is nothing more exciting than when you, the drum major, bring your hands up into conducting position, prepared to bring the first sound. Now, often our conducting positions are accompanied by a lot of physical stress on the body because of that setup. And the last part of our stance really deals with how you're utilizing the limbs as well as the torso to have the most comfortable and full presence possible in your conducting. Now, I want you to imagine yourself as being the centerpiece of a clock. And all around you are those numbers, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12 being at the top of my vertical space, 6 being at the bottom of my vertical space. And the way I like to get into that simply is thinking about putting my elbows at 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock in front of my body with my fists together, right? So that would look like this. So here in that moment, we have the elbows at 3 o'clock and at 9 o'clock. Now, this is not the ideal position that we're in, although, that we should be in rather, although I've seen many conducting styles utilize this. And although it's effective, I think that the stress that it puts on the arm is not really conducive to music making or your ability to help time for the ensemble. So, thinking about 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock, and then moving those and altering those to 4 o'clock and 8 o'clock. This is going to give you the angle quite similar to what your visual instructors may work with your ensemble on in terms of their horn position and their carriage. So you're wanting to create this triangle. We want to do that as well. So now that the elbows are at 4 o'clock and 8 o'clock, we have an opportunity. This opportunity now requires us to open up the hands to the width of the torso. Now this is really, really important. To the width of the torso. Often we see drum majors commanding a lot of space, and we do that because we feel that we need to take up all of the space for people to be able to see. But because you're on a podium that's traditionally 6 to 9 feet in the air, I think a more stable and relaxed and normal conducting position will help you and be just as effective. So as the elbows are at 4 o'clock and 8 o'clock, we focus our attention on moving the arms to the width of the torso. And what we want to do is we want to expand out to the width of the torso. You'll find that should be a position where if you would drop your hands to the side, they would simply pass by those seams of your pants. They should just pass by the seams of your pants. And so when we're thinking about how all of those elements combine for ourselves, we have our feet that are firmly planted in the ground at shoulder width apart. We have the hips that are in position to be right over the ankle. We have a torso that is long and lifted and smiling. And then we have the elbows, right, and the arms working in a clock position that are at 4 o'clock and 8 o'clock, with the width of your arms being open as wide as your torso. This becomes a commanding presence for us that I really think brings excitement to the silence and encourages the great musical soundscape that you're going to contribute. Lastly, a note about the head. The heaviest part of the body and where it is projected and directed has a dramatic impact on how it influences your body and movement. So think not necessarily about having your chin too tilted far back that allows the AO joint to pull yourself backwards, but to have your eyes peeled looking to the horizon while thinking about a flat and level chin. A flat and level chin will accompany quite nicely the smiling torso that we've executed and presented earlier. Finally, breaking all of that down and really thinking about how we get into that wonderful position, it starts again from an awareness of your body from the ground up. You're thinking that the feet are shoulder width apart. You're thinking that the hips are standing on top of those ankles, right? On top of those ankles. You're thinking about a long, lifted, and smiling torso. You're thinking about those elbows at 4 o'clock and the 8 o'clock position. You're thinking about opening up those limbs to the width of your torso while keeping in mind that you want them to be activated outside of your workspace. And you want to have your eyes across the horizon with your chin flat and level. If you can execute these things and keep them at the foreground of your thought process, I think your conducting will improve dramatically, and certainly will your presence. I hope that you've enjoyed this segment. We look forward to you being band ready.